Hello, everyone. Today we have Suwira with us. He's the founder of Aleph Technologies. Hi, Suwira. So nice to have you today. Maybe you can share a bit about yourself and the company.
Sure. Thanks for having me as well. Yeah, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Aleph Technologies. We are essentially an AI company that provide optimization platform for heavy industries. So now we are working with pharmaceutical manufacturing, and recently we are expanding to airport operations. So think of us as an AI that can analyze complex processes and then recommend what the actions to improve the operational efficiency
Mm.
within the process itself.
Oh, that's quite cool, actually. In a sense. So have you been working with AI for quite a while? Like, what gave you the inspiration to like jump into this?
Right. My background is actually more on optimization.
Mm.
I've been working in the field of optimization for almost 7 to 8 years now.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
quite long.
Yeah, so mostly in terms of like operational optimization, supply chain, business flow. My co-founder is the one who has been in machine learning or AI, right, in for 8 years. So when we met at NUS, that's how we share our experience and our expertise. So of
Mm.
course, combining that together, you have the AI for optimization.
That's quite cool. So is it like an industry specific problem that you noticed like in your time and then you were like, hey, like we can apply ML and basically like AI tools to make the process better?
Yeah, you're right. So the industry, we started off with industry specific. So my background when I first started is actually on the industry of chemicals, heavy industry, right?
Mhm.
I was a consultant helping oleochemical companies to improve their operations. And then that's how I get exposed to heavy industries. My co-founder initially was a chemical engineer. And then because of that chemical engineering expertise that he has, he also started on chemical related industries. So
Mm.
something like specialty chemicals, pharmaceutical, right? So yeah, when we first started, because of our background, we focus on chemicals as well as pharmaceutical manufacturing. But eventually, as we grow, we do see that the same technology is being demanded from other sectors such as the airport operations, and therefore we are expanding there as well.
Mm. So was there like anything like, so what was like the the point that you guys started, since like you all came together and you saw a problem? It's like, was there like a specific scenario or like problem that, or like, yeah, specific scenario that made you all want to jumpstart into this startup?
Hmm. I guess it's when like how we came about the idea to solve the problem is that I mean we were consultants back then.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized how inefficient it is for us consultant to basically solve the problems for the users, right? Take an example of a chemical factory. Let's say that they have some energy efficiency issues. So we have to build like models that can help predict the energy efficiency and solve it. So it took a long time for us to build it, lots of back and forth, and then once we deploy it, somehow the model become inaccurate and can't solve the problems. So I personally were involved in that, and I felt that that's very inefficient, right? It's likewise for my co-founder. So as we progress into our career, when we are more exposed towards like let's say tech, AI, that's when we get the idea of essentially using AI to solve that particular problems that we encounter in during our early career. So eventually, my co-founder was also eventually worked with NUS to do research on using AI for optimization. So
Mm-hmm.
from a technological perspective, he's the one who developed that. And then we met during this more like a speed dating event by NUS in preparation for the incubation program. So when we met, we basically shared our experience, and as we sort of can relate to each other, and we think that there's a real problem to solve there because of our experience. And just so happened that he also has already done some research on that. That's the point where we decided to, okay, let's participate in the incubation program together, and that's how we started Aleph.
Actually, that's
Mm.
quite cool. So the incubation brought you all basically together at one place.
Yeah.
That's really quite nice. Then how was your first customer journey like acquiring the first customer? What was that process like?
Right. We are quite fortunate because of our own industrial connection, right? I mean, we worked with our industry before. Our first customer is Pfizer. Since we have some ties with them previously, we did speak with them that okay, we are splitting out a startup together with NUS now. This is the technology. How about we work on something together, right? So it
Mm.
definitely was not easy, right? Aside from Pfizer, we spoke to with a lot more other customers. But eventually the one with Pfizer converted right to an actual customer. So I remember there's a lot of pitching, there's a lot of presenting ideas and concepts, right? Because back then, when we were very early, we have no funding, we have no product. What we have is technology as well as a concept. So we had to pitch to them, something that doesn't even exist yet. Um, and try to convince them how exactly this will help in your operations, right? So basically we were able to convince them, get some money out of it, right? And then that's when we built the product. And then eventually as we build, we productize the technology even better, and that's subsequently with the result that we have from Pfizer, we use it to bring on board other customers. So
Mm.
yeah, early days was a lot of pitching, a lot of presenting ideas.
Wow, that's very like it's quite hard. Like but I think the approach is correct, right? It's like before you, especially in your case, like when the building has a bit of, I assume a bit of like time and resources invested. I think
Mm,
it's better to get some validation first that like, hey, like, are you interested in this? And then, so you did like a letter of intent, or how does that go for someone who's trying to like make that process, right? What's your advice for them to basically like after getting the client on board, and then how do they get to the POC? How do they convince for the POC?
right. In our case, it was directly a contract actually. So it was not even a letter of the letter of what content
A
or
letter of intent, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
then that's a big win for you. That's quite nice. That means it's straight
Yeah.
away a contract.
So we immediately got a contract. We immediately got it's a pilot contract event in the beginning. And then
Mm.
pilot we converted into a 2 years contract. Um, but of course, it might not be the case every time. Getting the LOI it can be an indicator, but of course, best if get the customer to start paying. Because usually, if let's say it's a free pilot, then people don't take you seriously. They take things for granted, and then eventually
Yeah.
that won't go anywhere. So always go for paid pilot, paid projects. Even if it's a little bit, it's fine as long as it's paid. Otherwise, if you just get a LOI, yes, it's an indicator, but it might not tie the customer or make them, contribute to the project itself, which end up will jeopardize your own position.
Mm.
Oh, that's very true. It's like without like this money at stake, right? It's like, it's just a free product, so maybe they just leave it there and everything.
Yeah,
Actually, I think this will tie quite well because you see, like we have been working in the industry beforehand and everything, right? But
yeah.
um, how did in a sense, the people around you, like your family, your friends, reacted when you had to quit your job and like started a startup.
Right. I think family-wise, well, I mean, I came from a background of family business. So of course, my father especially was not very pleasant with the decision, right? Expected me to continue the family business, but of course, he still supported my
Mm.
decision, right? Still very thankful to the family. Although that I'm not continuing the family business, but they're still quite supportive in a sense. But of course, from time to time they'll ask, how's your business doing? Come back and do the family business, this kind of thing. Yeah, but on the friend side, yeah, I mean, many of my friends, they also they're mostly working in the corporate side. And then initially, they couldn't comprehend my decision as well. I mean, right after uni, my options was either uh going to JP Morgan, BCG, which I got the offer, or go for the startups.
Mm.
Eventually I chose to go for the startups. Yeah, just because I think, eventually I might still be able to go to PCs in the future, but this is one opportunity that I shouldn't miss.
Mhm.
But yeah, in the beginning, no one really can comprehend, right? Why would you forego good opportunities for something that is risky? Um, but hey, I mean, if something that you like doing, you have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I thought that, having a family who is like a little bit more, who has done like the business, right, will be more supportive, like, giving advice.
Yeah.
Quite
No,
different.
they'll make sure that they'll like you to join the family business.
The family
But
business,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. A bit of context why I say after graduation I got the offer on that is I took my master's basically. But I was working after bachelor degree in the industry, right? And then after a master's, I was supposed to go to continue my corporate career, but I didn't. So I went to startup instead.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so then how, like, in a sense, what do you think is like the most challenging aspect of like a startup? Maybe like, like the problem, or you think is like, in a sense, is like the environment that you're in?
Mm. I think the most challenging part, I guess, is that's the entire situation that you put yourself in. Because you have to basically have your startup in mind 24/7. So if you do not enjoy it, then it'll be very stressful and you'll burn out very easily, right? So overcoming, as this is the first step, right? The first step
Mm,
of essentially ensuring that you will survive running your own startup. Second is basically you have to get used to rejection. I mean, you face rejection countless of time. I find it very difficult in the beginning, right? I've never faced any rejection in my life. After when I first started
mhm.
Aleph, you don't really see this when you're in corporate environment. But yeah, once you start, and even previously I was also in business development, right?
Uh,
So even so, I still didn't see as many rejection. So overcoming, being comfortable with rejection, don't take it personally and continuously, um, take that rejection as basically your own fuel to be even more yeah, to be even more passionate to do what you want is another thing. And yeah, lastly, it's just to manage the entire business by itself is quite challenging. You have to manage a lot of things, your customers, your partners,
mm,
investors, your employees, your co-founders, and all of this at the same time, right? So
mm.
you have to juggle a lot of things. Fortunately, I mean, I'm used to juggling works, but still, I feel it can be quite daunting at times.
Yeah, definitely. Like rejection is like one thing like every founder must go through, especially like in a sense that like the first idea you come up with or like whatever the first prototype is, you
Yeah.
always need to continuously change it, improve it, and you need to not only like I feel that take on rejection, but learn from rejection. I think that's even
Yeah,
harder to do.
exactly.
uh, yeah, it's like it can get like extremely challenging. One thing I wanted to ask you, like, so your life and your experience as a consultant, right? Did it help you on the entrepreneurial journey, or was it like, the way you do things when you were a consultant, and then the way you pitch, let's say when you are like a startup founder, right? What are the key things that you had to like adapt to?
Right. So I mean, I'll share on what is a transferable skill and then what are the things that I have to adapt to, right?
Yeah.
So things that helped me really a lot when I became a founder is basically more on the thought process, right? I mean, as a consultant, we are usually trained in a very um, problem-solving mindset, right? You break down problems into bits and pieces, and then you analyze them on how to solve them. So that's actually a good approach to have when you are, when you are a founder, right? And especially in terms of communication as well. When you can break down the problems into pieces, you can communicate it easily with the customer as well. And as a consultant, we are also trained to, communicate the top line first and then followed by your details, right? So it's something that's really helpful when we transition into when I transition to a founder in a startup company. I see a lot of non-business founders who are mainly like engineers or very tech mindset.
Mm.
They sort of like they give too much information, right? Sometimes overwhelm people. And then, yeah, there's too much information and people just don't get anything from there, right? So it's very important in terms of how can you transform all these information into something that is very easy to digest. So that's a skill that I think important, very important to have, and consultants are generally good at it. Well, things that are not, yeah, we have to adapt to compared to consultants and tech founders, right? It's more on, I'll say, execution and implementation, right? Consultants are very good at strategizing, and usually are not very good in implementing or execution. So as a founder, you have to do both.
Yeah.
You have to do both. And in fact, more on execution in the beginning, and then eventually more strategy, when you're bigger. So I had to transition that mindset or like behavior, right? Instead of strategizing too much, let's just do it first and then see what's the result. And then we continuously um, iterate on that. So a lot of corporate mindset is you plan first and then you execute the plan.
Mm.
But sometimes plan doesn't it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So that's why I ever since I become a tech founder, I plan less, do more, and then I iterate my plan accordingly.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's quite funny that you say that like the technical founders go too much into detail because that's so true. Like
Mm.
just today in the morning, we had a call, like a sales call, and I'm the technical guy, and then I went too much into the detail. And the one feedback we got is like, guys, I don't care how you all achieve it, just show me what are the metrics. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to improve the sales pitch. I need to be better in like presenting it in a simpler way. So that's actually very, very true. And I think being a consultant then really helps with
Mm.
that part of it. And then I also wanted to ask like, so you had your first client, right? Then how do you grow from there in a sense that like how do you experiment with different growth engines and what worked the best for you?
Right. How do we grow from there? So we haven't explored that much growth engine yet, because also we receive a lot of inbounds actually, and a lot of
Oh,
customers they introduce us, right? For example, like our initial customer eventually introduced us to other pharmaceutical manufacturers.
Mm.
In fact, in pharmaceutical community is quite small.
yeah.
um like you if you work at Pfizer, you might have previously worked at GSK and then eventually go to MSD, so it's very small. So people tend to know each other, and that's how we have internal champions to promote us. And then that's how we were able to get our subsequent customer as well. So quite organic.
mm,
And essentially, for the airports side as well, we were introduced by Singapore government actually through Enterprise Singapore, and then from there onwards as well, we presented what we are doing with pharmaceutical, right? And then we realized that hey, the same technology can be applied in airport operations. So
mm,
why not we bring it over, right? Started something. And then, when we started this, we attract some attention from other airports as well. So has been a lot of inbound. And in terms of how are we going to test out different growth engines, mainly, yes, you're right. More on for our case, it's more on finding out which verticals or which
mm,
sectors do we target, right? I mean, like how did we even arrive at pharmaceutical and airport operations?
Mm.
As a context, we basically explored various other sectors, right? We began by talking to oil and gas. That's when we first started. We realized that hey, oil and gas are too big. They have their own
mm,
engineers to do this. They don't work with startups. Okay, then move on. Right. We go to maritime. Maritime back then was like, oh, they don't have enough. They're not digitally ready and they don't have money. So okay, move on. So we did a lot of these tests, right, with different verticals, and very much, it's done by myself and my co-founder. So very organic, talking to these people,
Mm.
and only when we see that the market fit or the market has met our several criteria, which is like, okay, they have money to pay, of course. They are innovative. They have data because we're an AI company with data. And
Mm.
that's how we define that, okay, this is somewhere that we can work with, right? So how we go about it is basically just to set a metrics, right, on who is the ideal customer, um,
mm,
test it out, and then once we receive some good feedback, and then we double down on that. So yeah, that's how we have been growing, or also finding what's the right place or right market for us to enter.
Oh, because it was quite interesting to hear that, it's like from pharmaceuticals, right? Then it's like you're going all the way into like airport
Mm.
management as well. So like how does it how was the process like when, like you were introduced to like the airports, right? Was there like any questions like that in a sense give you a more difficult time because in a sense you didn't have experience when you were introduced to that area?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Is a learning curve, I would say. I mean, it's not that we do not have zero experience in airport. One of my management team used to be from airport operations. We
Oh.
have some idea. Uh, but I myself, I have almost zero, right? But there's always what we call as transferable skill, transferable knowledge, right?
Hmm.
Um, because I used to work in a supply chain optimization. So
Hmm.
ultimately, airport is still like a logistics related sector.
Hmm.
Of course, they have their own terminology. They have their own like KPIs or something that they want to fulfill. So the way we approach this is, of course, first of all, we play on where we are the strongest, right? Um,
mm,
One thing that the airport is looking for is AI in the field of reinforcement learning. Yeah, we use reinforcement learning, right? So we focus on that. We say that, oh, we have this technology, and this is how we think it will be able to help you, right?
Hmm.
Yes, we might not have the domain expertise of airports, but we are very flexible and we are able to implement, and we are very successful in pharmaceutical using reinforcement learning. So I focus on what we do best, and that convinced them. But of course, what's next is to show that how well we can quickly learn and adapt. So yeah, we basically went down to the airport operations, which is at the command center, right? And really just
Hmm.
spend 3 days there. Both morning shift and night shift, they operate 24/7. So you have to be there, 24/7.
Well, that's dedication right there.
Yeah, otherwise, you won't be able to learn, right? You need to be there. We didn't take much break. We just went out for a quick rest, but we were there for a very long time. So yeah, they basically see that dedication, right? And that really helped us understand their operations. Um, and with that, we're able to, essentially build something that actually can solve them. I think that is something that's very valuable. And today, I can be quite confident to say that, because of that amount of dedication we put for our customer, now we are quite well versed in airport operations domain as well.
Yeah, I think it's like a never-ending journey of learning, lah. Like, especially when you're moving to a new sector, trying to enter a new sector.
Precisely.
You really put all this effort to learn like every little aspect of it.
Yes, precisely. I think learning is very important.
All right. Then in that case, right, what are the, like more, how do I phrase this? Okay, it's like when you other than like the determination part, right? It's like, is there any things that other founders, right, can like other skills that founders should have like when they, undergo like such experiences also? It's like when they're expanding into like, in a sense, a new market. Like what things you think is important?
Right. I mean, when you are expanding to new markets, I guess one thing that we can leverage on, because see, when you're expanding a new market, you are fighting against certain either incumbents or forces, right? We have to be very strategic when we're expanding to the markets. Sometimes finding local partners is basically the most how do I call it, the easiest way to do so, right? You don't have to build things from ground up anymore.
Mm,
Find someone who already has that connections, that particular expertise, work that person, and then eventually let that partner help you grow. It's easier for you to manage one partner than 10 customers, right? So partnership development is also a skill. Finding the right partner, how you can manage your partner itself. Yeah, and then I guess just overall business acumen, right? Before I even go to market, find out first whether it is worth pursuing or not. Sometimes it's just not ready. Sometimes it's just not the right time.
mm,
One thing that I learned is also timing is very important.
Mm.
Really just to be able to tell, is this the right time to enter, or is the right time to sell, is something that you gain. I would say it's a skill that you enhance with experience. So no easy way for it. But some people might be born with it, I don't know. But I would say like it's no easy way to it. The more you do entrepreneurship, the easier you will be in terms of identifying opportunities.
mm,
That's very true. Like once you understand, in a sense, how you are doing well in one market, and then you see an adjacent market, you can draw those like parallels. Then it
Yeah.
gives you a base. I love the fact that you all went down for 3 days, right? And then do that. That actually adds on. I want to ask you the question of like, how do you like build the trust and credibility with these companies, right? Because you sell to very big like you sell to like big organizations, right?
Right.
And usually, like in my experience, when I try to do that, like the common questions that come up is one is like, maybe not too sure if this is relevant for you, but one question that comes up is like, hey, what if I put in this much budget and internally my team does it, right? Like I need to hire this team or like just like create like throw in some money internally. We create it ourselves, we test it ourselves, right? Not too sure if like that question was ever thrown to you. And then number two is like, it's a startup, right? How much can you trust a startup? There's always a question for bigger organizations. So how do you navigate like these trust issues?
Yeah, I mean the it's a startup thing is always there. It's a chicken and egg thing sometimes, right? You have to get customers on your, acquire some logos before you go talk to these people. But when these people don't want to give you the logos, then what can you do?
Mm.
Yeah, I guess uh, really the one way to really navigate around these kind of big enterprises, because these are big enterprises, right? They a lot of them have they're very political, right? Each stakeholder has his or her own agenda, um,
Mm,
and usually one of the agenda can be they just get promoted, right? And then they need to push something out to the to the management, right? By doing something new. So if you are able to find that, right, if you're able to find the agenda, leverage on that, because that person will be your internal champion. And in enterprise setting, internal champion is very important.
Yeah.
When you have that insider, that person can give you the intel that you require. You can essentially make sure that you are able to meet his or her need, so that he can promote you as well. So help that person help you, right? So yeah, like example, right? For example, the airport. Basically, what who we know a person that is essentially the head of the IT or something like that, and he basically is very strong on RL, and he on reinforcement learning and on all this AI thing, right? So his KPI is to use AI to
mm.
improve operations. Then of course you need to look for some AI, right? Then if you know that, you just say that, okay, whatever you need in terms of presentation for AI, I'll do it. Right? I'll support you. So that way, you we get him as our internal champion, right? Eventually, because he needs to look good as well. He basically tell us, okay, you should do ABC, right? To achieve this. So sort of like we got guidance from him. And eventually that's how he introduced us to the decision maker, and eventually we got in through that. So is in enterprise sales is a lot of like navigating the politics, speak to as many stakeholder as possible, right? Not just one, right? 10 to 20 of them, find out each of them what are their agendas, uh, and then pick the person that where the agenda is the most aligned with you, and just double down on that. So mapping out who these people are, how their decision are being made are very important. So do it through LinkedIn or do it through organically. That is some of the ways that it can be done. Um, so now that and then it's also a number game, right? The more enterprise you approach, some of them will bound to open up to talk to you. Uh,
Mm.
so once you have that, make sure that you can get in, you can deliver good result, and eventually you get the logo, and that will essentially help you build your credibility, right? Help you build your portfolio, and as you grow bigger, it'll be easier as well when you talk to new companies. They'll be more open to you because now they see, hey, you have worked with my competitors. Let me hear you out. So it's usually that way lah. But the first step is the hardest. The first step is
Yeah. I guess the thing is, yeah, one thing I didn't used to do is like I didn't used to find internal champions to see like basically one person who I can align with, like you said, like talking to a few people. Like in a sense, I think when you go on to call with these companies, you build touch points with a few people. I think
yeah,
you then need to see who benefits the most by your success in a
yeah,
sense, and then you need to align with that. So
precisely, precisely.
yeah, so I want to change the conversation a bit to like LLMs now. So I mean you've been in AI, but you're into reinforcement learning, statistical AI, and like doing things with data.
Mhm.
Now with more of like textual data with like large language models and everything, which is like the generative AI era that people
Mhm.
say. How is your industry changing? And based on that, are you making like any changes to your product? Like, are you internally like playing around with these tools?
Right. I would say that it helps this wave of popularity on LLM and Gen AI help us in a sense where it promotes AI, right? Essentially, it makes people perception of AI to be better. Um, used to, before Gen AI or LLM came out, right? Before Open AI, a lot of people do not understand AI.
Yeah.
They do not understand, what's the capability. So I think they're less open in adopting AI. So I guess this, first of all, it helped us in more like in that mindset, in that perspective that, hey, seems like AI can help, right? LLM is just one part of it. Maybe there's other type of AI that can help. So that is the first thing that I would say has benefit us. Um, Meanwhile, in terms of how are we, adopting this into our own solution, our own product, I would say we need to keep up to, how do I say it, not trend, but it's a paradigm shift, right? Previously, SaaS companies, SaaS or software, right, are usually very much point and click. So as more and more people are getting used to natural language based interaction, which is like OpenAI or your ChatGPT, right? Then eventually people will grow lazy to become lazier in doing point and click. So this is something that we see as not just a trend, but a paradigm shift. And therefore, we need to incorporate LLM into our product suite as well. So the way we are doing it now is more of a change in user interface, right? Because what we see is that LLM is very good in um, basically translating, right? Converting chunk of information into something that is very easily digestible. So that's why we put LLM as a front layer. Essentially, it collects information from our reinforcement learning model, from our other engines, and then it communicates the insights to the customers or to the users through very simple language, right? So we are integrating it as our own, basically UI layer for our customers. Yeah, so that's how we view LLM on Gen AI.
That's amazing because I think that one of the easiest, or like the first steps, right, looking into this entire LLM thing is that the UI is the first thing that will change. I'm a big believer of that too. I think
Mm,
people are gonna get lazy, especially for complex UI, like
mm,
having a dashboard and trying to figure out how to make something
yeah,
happen. I mean, and then a lot of companies just spend a lot of money trying to teach people to use the dashboard too, right? That
yeah,
natural language thing takes it away. So I
precisely.
think that's quite good. So talking about LLMs, now we're gonna go to like tools and some like quick fire questions. So
Yeah,
Edmund, you wanna take that on?
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So basically, we are going to what we call quick fire rounds.
yeah,
Questions where basically I'll just ask you a quick question, very simple question, and the first thing that comes to your mind, you can just answer it.
yeah.
Right? Okay, then let's get started. Okay, so the first question is, what is one tool that you cannot live without after starting your startup?
Well, I think PowerPoint. I keep making deck. If there's no way to make that, I'll survive. Yeah.
Okay, oh my goodness. So like because like what you have been making too many decks with your with PowerPoint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very used to PowerPoint, and I think I'm more well versed in it.
Mm.
So I haven't seen that, like let's say Beautiful AI or Canva AI to be able to
Oh no way.
yeah, to be able to make that. So I have been using PowerPoint, and I need to communicate through PowerPoints to present, right? So it's the one
Mm.
thing that if one day Microsoft say that okay, no more PowerPoint in this world, then business in the close already.
Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to the next question. So, second question is pitch your startup in 5 words without using any buzzwords.
Wow, is AI considered a buzzword? It is not.
I think I can.
In your case, it's not a buzzword. Yeah, it's not a buzzword.
Okay. Let me think. AI optimization for heavy industries. Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. How do you manage to do that? It's quite hard, eh? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. That's a good. That's a That's a good one.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. Okay, all right, then we'll move on to the last question. Okay, so this one is usually where we get like our most like juicy answers.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the third question is, what is the weirdest DM that your startup has ever gotten? Like a message.
Oh, where does TM? I mean,
Yeah.
scams aside, I mean, there's always scams, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
scam is
yeah.
like the weirdest one, like a legit weird one.
We haven't gotten, maybe it's not weird, but maybe more on the exciting thing that
Mm.
they're out of context, right? Like it's like one day this guy from Canada text DM us or say that, oh, I know some politician in India that run sugar factory, sugarcane factory. And basically he asked, okay, can I basically leverage on my these connections to use your AI to help them improve their sugar factory and this thing. And then they say, "Hey, I'll invite you down to Aurangabad, which is in India, to visit one, to do all these things. So and assess how can AI be used to improve their operation, right? So yeah, I guess the interesting part is basically that I asked my co-founder, and then basically he basically knows about the areas of that particular place where there's a lot of sugar plantation and factory. And yeah, it seems like sometimes there's a lot of political tension in the area, there's a lot of gangster as well and whatnot. So now I'm questioning myself, like should we even go pursue this opportunity, right? Otherwise, whoever we send them might not come back home anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, kind of dangerous.
So yeah, let's see. Hopefully, I don't think I should go, but
I'll send someone there. Yeah. All right. Okay, then that wraps up like the quick fire questions. I can't believe it. Like every founder knows like exactly the right answer to this. You see, it's like always digging out the 5 words thing is always we expect it to be very difficult, but somehow rather right, every founder manages to come up with something amazing. Okay.
maybe if you're doing it for a while, right? Then some people will always ask you, "Oh, what's your 1 second, your 10-second elevator pitch, 1 minute elevator pitch?" So
Mm.
sometimes you have to do on that lah, and yeah, I don't know, and maybe I spend too much time with my company, that's why.
Yeah, but 10-second elevator pitch versus 5 words, there's a very big difference. I don't think anyone asked you for 5 words before. Yeah.
So first time also, first time.
All right. So now thank you so much for sharing all of the coming down to share with our listeners like what are the things that they have to consider, especially when they are thinking of starting a startup or already like a little bit along in their journey. So like to wrap things up, so maybe you can tell our listeners like how do we follow your startup?
How to follow my startup on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So Aleph Technologies. We post not so frequently, but I will try to post more. But do follow us, and then we'll update you guys more about Aleph.
All right, great. So yeah, everyone heard that. Just follow Aleph Technologies. Okay, then the last way, so to wrap up this podcast, so if you get to leave one sentence for the next founder to walk on this startup journey, right? What do you think it would be?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like one nugget of
I'm
information.
not gonna. I think. I mean, for me, it's one thing that I really learned is that just be persistent.
Mm,
Um, a bit cliche, but if you give up, then that's it, right? You won't know what's going to happen next.
mm,
So even if you fail already, just continue, come back up, fail fast, learn fast is the way to go.
all right, wise words right there. All right. Thank you so much, Ravia. So, like, yeah,